Welcome to Agronomy Moment. I'm your host, Wendell Cohen. We bring in people who agree with me, disagree with me, and above all, are not afraid to say it like it is. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Agronomy Moment. George is back with me here again after a break, and we're bringing you a part two of the topic here on carbon and CarbonWorks. And when last time we talked about a little bit of over the kind of more of a higher level view of carbon and humics in general. This time I want to talk a little more about the products and how they differentiate themselves, and also how to separate them in our minds and what they can be used for in different situations. So, George, welcome back.
Hey, thank you, Wendell. Great to be back with you. Glad to do another podcast with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And tell us a little bit about the products. I've used a lot of the CetaiN over the last couple of years, which is why I felt like it was very timely for you to come on here, is because of our own personal experience and our customers' experience here locally of using it on urea and UAN. But we're acquainted with CetaiN a lot, but tell us more how that differs from Replenish, a water conditioner, and then also your RSTC 17, which is kind of like an in-furrow type product. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you. And CarbonWorks products, all of our products, Wendell, deliver ultra low pH, a pH of 1 to 2, but also high molecular oxygen. I actually think that the greatest aspect of our product is that the high molecular oxygen, because the reason that you and I are sitting here being able to do this podcast is because you and I are breathing 21% oxygen in the air. You know, I think it's kind of funny because we don't think about this and don't need to on a daily basis, but the air we're breathing is 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. And then everything else is 1% or less, Wendell. And I get very excited about it because in reality, they all serve a purpose and it's all in balance in nature. And that's in essence why CarbonWorks was created, was to find a better balance in our agronomy program. And so our products are delivering energy and oxygen. We're using carbon as the truck instead of in our traditional agronomy programs, use a salt or synthetic chemicals to deliver other needed aspects of our agronomy program. That's why CarbonWorks is different. So our carbon is different than a lot and most, actually all of the other carbons. To date, Wendell, I have never, ever seen a humic acid product. They all call it humic acid, but I've never seen one. There's no such thing. Humic is high pH and a negative oxygen, but they don't even talk about the negative oxygen. And that's the real important part. Because without the oxygen, you and I wouldn't be sitting here talking, and neither would the soil biologicals actually be doing their job in the soil without oxygen. And I think the best indicator of that is we all know if you get a field that gets a big rain and gets flooded, what happens? Overnight, it'll go upside down. It could be beautiful green today, but it could be yellow tomorrow. And it's not the lack of nutrients, Wendell. All those nutrients didn't wash out of that soil. You've got a good CEC holding capacity. What happened is that the water pushed all the oxygen out of the pores in the soil, and you, in essence, then had lack of oxygen, which actually shut down the aerobic bacteria. That's why the corn went yellow. It was the lack of oxygen, not the lack of nutrients, but it's lack of nutrient availability, which is because the aerobics, which make it available, they have to have oxygen. So that's why CarbonWorks products are loaded with oxygen. So over the course of this 20 years, Wendell, as we talked about in the earlier podcast, I started in 2009 on corn and soybeans in central southwest Minnesota, and then gravitated down to Iowa and to Missouri, and I'm in Illinois and Indiana and the whole Corn Belt now, and in the Dakotas and Nebraska with CarbonWorks products. So we've been doing a lot of work for a lot of years, and we have a lot of data. I pride myself on the data, Wendell, because anybody can say anything about a product, and the unique part about the humic products is that there's no regulations. There's no statutory rules that you have to follow in the humic world. That's why it made it like the old Wild West. So I do not believe that that's a good way to go, nor could I come to you or any other grower and just say, hey, I made this stuff in the bathtub last night at the hotel and come out and sell it to you. I've spent
Yep.
20 years proving it and how it works and where it works and a lot of third party research. And I'm very thankful, like to Beck's Hybrids, their PFR program, because they let me in that program in 2014. And we were in that program and through 2021 becoming PFR proven with our products. And we're actually going back into new experiments. This coming is exciting for 26. We're actually going to put my CetaiN natural stabilizer for nitrogen. We're going to put that with 32% in a stream bar over the top of soybeans. And we're real
Okay.
excited about that
Yep.
opportunity because my product has already proven that it will hold the nitrogen and stop the volatilization. So anytime, like in Y dropping on corn, that's why CetaiN was so important and made a really big, showing in the Midwest on corn on side dressing with 32% or 28% was because anytime we get it to the air, you're going to volatilize off some of that value, the nitrogen in that product, because the nitrogen wants to go back to where it came from, Wendell.
So
So
the CetaiN is the product that we would put with like UAN, urea, and that is what we would use to treat this
correct.
product.
And that product we recommend at 1 ounce per gallon of 28 or 32%. If you're going to actually
Okay.
coat dry urea, which is done
Yep.
and highly recommended, we're using about 3 quarts per ton of the CetaiN on
Yep.
the dry urea or other blends. In Canada,
Yep.
we've got a lot of acres and thousands of tons of fertilizer in Canada, which is treated all dry with our CetaiN. And
Yep.
the challenge is getting it actually operational in the field. And we're building more support in the retail realm because you've got to get the co-op or the supplier typically to treat it with their blender at their plant for the dry
Yep.
material. But we can always add my CetaiN liquid to your liquid 28 or 32 at the farm.
Yep. And we don't do no anhydrous though, right?
No, sir.
Yep.
No,
And
because the
then
gas under that pressure, Wendell, and the temperature, we know it's freezing as it comes
yep.
out. You've seen the frost on an expansion valve on a tank of
Yep.
ammonia. That's just a whole different realm. And we're
Absolutely.
hoping that more people are, somehow utilizing split applications of nitrogen because we've got way
Yep.
too much research that shows that your corn plant did not get all of that fall applied anhydrous that you put out last fall. It's not there
Yes.
come
Yep.
reality
So
when the corn plant needs it.
and then now talk about the RSTC 17, that the
Okay, the
product there
RSTC
and how we use it.
17 was the original product, Wendell, in 2009 that went in furrow. And
Okay.
actuality, what happened was there was a worker who put uh, a jug of my RSTC 17 in furrocarbon into 1,000-gallon tank of 28% up in
Okay.
Minnesota in
Yep.
2016. And what happened was the worker could stick his head in the tank of 1,000 gallons of ammonia. Now, you and I
And not
both know
get
you
choked
could
up
not
on
do
it.
that typically. It would tip you
Yep.
over. Well,
Yep.
it didn't. So the worker called the farm owner and said, I poured this jug of this black stuff in this tank of 28%. He thought it was a
Yep.
chemical nitrogen stabilizer, and it wasn't. It was my carbon. So
Yep.
they looked at it, and the farm owner said, well, look, we're not going to waste this 1,000 gallons of 28%. So
Yep.
he said, mark the field where you're going to be side dressing the corn with this carbon in this 28%.
Yep.
Well, when they harvested in the fall in October, there was an 8 bushel an acre increase in yield. That's what
Yep.
launched CetaiN. CetaiN
Okay.
grew out of the success I'd already had as in furrow product with the
Yep.
RSTC 17. So now we found out it was an incredible nitrogen stabilizer, but I like to say CetaiN is a nitrogen enhancer, Wendell, because it's not just the holding of the nitrogen with the carbon. Like we talked
Okay.
about in the last session, other humic products could actually hold the carbon. But the problem with them, with high pH and negative oxygen, Wendell, they tie up the nitrogen and they're actually a detriment to the soil biologicals. I'm
Okay.
coming in here, I'm holding your nitrogen, holding the ammonia, the ammonium, the nitrite, and the nitrate, but I've got the energy and oxygen in CetaiN to invigorate your Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter. So I'm a nitrogen enhancer because I'm invigorating more of those soil biota that are actually going to convert that urea into plant available nitrate.
Got it. That makes sense. Now tell me about replenish. How
Okay,
does what now this is kind of going down a different pathway here than what we've been on, as far as what we're doing with it, right?
correct. The dark carbon, I like to say, Wendell, that the dark carbon's for the soil and my clear carbon's for the sky. Replenish is an ultra low pH, pure carbon water conditioner. Now,
Okay.
it is a pH of 1 and it has over a 300 molecular oxygen. Now, I have farmers always looking at it and saying the two bottles, one's dark, black,
Hmm.
looks like liquefied coal, which it is,
Yeah.
and the other's clear. And they
Okay.
always gravitate and say, well, I'll ask, how much, which one has more carbon? And they'll say, oh, the dark one, that black one, that's more carbon. And I'm
Right.
like,
That's what I would
really?
choose.
Well, I'm going to tell you that scientifically there's more carbon in the clear one. And they're like, how does that work? And I'm like,
Right.
what is the clearest, hardest carbon on Earth?
Diamonds.
A diamond, yes, sir. Now,
Yeah.
it's not crushed up diamonds, but pure
Okay.
carbon, Wendell, is clear. Okay.
Okay.
So it kind of starts to make sense. Now,
Yeah.
with the clear carbon, Wendell, this is meant for your spray tank, okay, for the air,
Yeah.
for spraying. So I'm after conforming to what university research said. You need to have the pH of your total spray tank below 7
Yep.
because you're tying up nutrients, but you're also degrading the half-life of your chemicals that you're putting in the
That's
spray
right.
tank. If the pH is 7, 8, 9, it's unbelievable. You can lose
That's right.
50+% of the effectiveness of the chemical in the tank. Now that to
Yep.
me, with chemicals are expensive. Everything, somewhat expensive inputs, but especially chemicals, and especially when you get to fungicides, they're really expensive. So
Yep.
how on earth could we justify losing 10%, but much less 50% effectiveness in the spray tank? So by
Yep.
adding my pure carbon to your water, I'm after reducing the pH down typically to about a 5.2, 5.5, and we've got a scientific way to measure that. But we get your pH of your water down first. All I ask on label is that replenish be put in the spray water before the other modes of action. It says it on the
Got it.
label. Now, growers always are in a hurry. They say, well, how much water have we got to have in the tank before we start adding chemicals? And I'm like, well, just at least have the tank half full with the replenish in it, the required rate. But typically,
Yep.
Wendell, we're only talking about 12 to 16 ounces of replenish per 100 gallons of water. Now we're talking about when you're getting, a 15-acre ride, 15 gallons an acre, you're getting 6 acres out of 100 gallons of water. My
Yep.
replenish would be at retail to the farm, typically about $1.25 an acre to treat your water with my replenish, but get that
Yep.
pH down. But the added benefit is that the replenish is pure carbon, Wendell. I actually attach your mode of action to the water. But also, Wendell, being pure carbon instead of being a salt, my product goes into your plant better because it's not seen as antagonistic. You spray
Yep.
salt on a plant, what's it do? It closes the stomata, and a plant will
Yep.
always try to get salt out of its system by pushing it out to, that's why we get tip burn first, is because
Yep.
the plant, Mother Nature, is trying to send that salt out to the extreme of the plant. You want to, you lose your
Yep.
little finger but save your hand. Okay.
Right.
Well, that's the premise that CarbonWorks Replenish is working on. We're attaching the mode of action and the water to a carbon, which is plant friendly, but oh, by the way, is still biological food. And I've
Yep.
got the oxygen to enhance the biological respiration. As I think you've already
Okay.
seen and your viewers have seen, Wendell, CarbonWorks is really a lot about oxygen works.
Sure, that makes sense. And then, so when it comes to like chemical, like, does this work? This works obviously with fungicides, insecticides, herbicides. I mean, it's not necessarily, it treats your water, makes it more available, and carries it to the plant.
Correct.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the times we live in, because we all think about this one thing is I'm a big believer in it. You've talked about it, that we want to make sure all of our cost inputs count. We don't want excess cost to be put into a budget. Really, never. We should never, as farmers,
No.
spend for what it doesn't work. But that becomes more pronounced and more important when we get in tight economical times. And so, looking at profitability, talk a little bit about how this produces a greater ROI in our tight margin environment. Like, where is a farmer able to see that advantage? I know you've talked some about the yield, but you've also talked about inputs as well.
Okay. Well, being a farmer myself, Wendell, and farmed for 20 years before I started CarbonWorks, I'm very informed about cost. Okay.
Right.
I'm a farmer too,
Yep.
and I'm very
Yep.
concerned about input costs. And of course, we've seen input cost, and typically the ones that we were told were the big three, NP and K, and a lot of other things, have gone up drastically.
Yep.
And, it's unfortunate, but we know that's just how the system works. Now, whether we're making money on our farm or not, that doesn't seem to matter to the big companies. Even the big co-ops, they are concerned about bottom line and dividends to their shareholders. And that's okay. I don't
Yep.
mind that. I'm a for-profit company too. I'm not a nonprofit, but
Yes.
we work hard to make sure that we're delivering the best quality product, consistent, at a fair price. Okay.
Yep.
It's not about conquering the world. CarbonWorks never decided we wanted to conquer the world, Wendell. We're just trying to help one farm at a time. We've been building this over a lot of years. We've got the data to back it up. But at the
Yep.
end of the day, it does have to be cost effective. And as you know, and I know, going through something like Beck's Hybrids PFR program, you have to deliver a positive ROI. You won't stay in Beck's Hybrids PFR if you don't deliver a consistent positive ROI. That's what PFR is all
That's
about.
right.
The Beck's family have been so good about giving back to the farms to help us growers with not just looking at products, but looking at farm practices and doing the things that typically the universities don't do. Beck's, to me,
Yes.
is the highest quality farm research that there is in the United States, hands down. And I'm very
Yep.
glad to be a part of that. But you got to deliver, as you said, a positive ROI, the return on
Yep.
investment. And that's where what we're doing, Wendell, is delivering a unique product. You can't get my products anywhere else except CarbonWorks. And out there in the market today, there's no other carbon product that has the pH and the oxygen that we do. Okay.
Yep.
So there's other carbon products, but they are not what we are. We have very specific timings, like in furrow with RSTC 17, or with your nitrogen with CetaiN, or with replenish with your water conditioner. Okay. But in that goal, Wendell, we're actually helping make more of those other inputs more available because
Yep.
we're going to the biological realm, which we now know has become the buzzword in the last 5 to 8 years, whether it was organic or regenerative or sustainable ag and all this, Wendell. The bottom line is what I figured out 20 years ago in 2005 was that the reason my farm wasn't producing was because of lack of soil health. Now, I had some real prominent negatives with zero point 0.3, 0.3% organic matter, and I have a
Okay.
CEC of 5. Well, you would know real quickly that in the Midwest, where you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% organic matter and a holding capacity of probably 12, 15, 18, 22, okay, you
Yep.
got more nutrients in your soil and you've got more holding capacity. So you don't lose your nutrients like I do. So in my
Yep.
soils, I'm losing nutrients real fast in beach sand, especially when we get a lot of rain. With that
Yep.
said, CarbonWorks products are designed to help you balance your agronomy program by being able to maybe find ways to make your other products more effective. In essence, we don't have to use quite as much.
That makes sense. And so, like, I'll point out to the viewers here is that you're in the book, you're in the Beck's PFR book, and you can look into that to check the CarbonWorks PFR research that's been done by Beck's, as well as talk to myself. We're definitely have the availability of CetaiN and the different products that CarbonWorks has. So if you have questions on it, and I appreciate your comments there and helping clarify how to produce that ROI. Is there anything, George, that you would have in closing here before we go to clarify or do as a follow-up here in our closing?
Wendell, thank you for the opportunity to share with your growers. I'm excited. I spend a lot of time on the road. Like I said, we're a family company. My son and my
Yes.
son-in-law run our manufacturing operations back in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I stay on the road meeting new farmers almost
Yep.
every week or every other week year round. And I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I enjoy sharing, and it's all about sharing. And I hope that your viewers would get more information from you or myself. Go to our
Yep.
website, carbonworks.com. And also, we have another platform that we're very excited about that I launched a few years ago in the Midwest, predominantly with corn and soybean growers. But we have a website at sharefclg.com that I think is a very good resource. We've had young agronomists like yourself and young growers, Wendell, who have contributed a ton of articles about farming. It's not about
Yep.
products, it's about farming and opportunities and challenges in farming today. It's a sharing platform, and it's just
Yep.
www.sharefclg.com. That's a great
Okay.
resource, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that too, because really and truly, Wendell, we all know something. None of us know it all. And it's
Yep.
dependent upon us to be willing to share with each other. And so I'm very happy for the opportunity that you allowed me to share with you today. And I look forward to our next opportunity to have another visit.
That's right. I appreciate the conversations we've had, Mr. Sims, and as well as what's drew myself to you is that you share a lot of our same principles that we have here, where our focus is around trying to help farmers succeed, and with the belief that our own success can follow in its God-given time. But we want to make sure that we're focusing on the agriculture sector and the farmers first. And I felt that in your heart, and that's been our heart here, as what we want, is that servant heart. So thank you again for coming. Thank you all for watching, and we will continue to put out more information as it comes. Maybe sometime in the future you'll be in this area, and if it is, we can have people come out and meet you.
I'd really like to do that. I really would. And you just tell me when, and I'll show up in Western Missouri with you.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
All right, everyone stay safe and have a great season upcoming. We're almost to planting time, and stay safe out there.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
So, what? I thought it turned out well.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
If you were Scott Dickey now, you would say something like, "It's about time for lunch."
I'm
What else?
starving.
You're starving?
Yes.
What would he call it? Saying it? What does he say? Grub or something? He calls it something else. He doesn't say, "Let's go for lunch." He says,
I don't know.
"Ready for something."
Yeah, Scott, I don't.
You don't know what's going to come out.
Exactly.
But I wish he was here. We could have made a really nice roundtable discussion and
Hey, I got selected.
Field Agronomist of the Year.
No. It's your turn again. for wave one of the whiskey.
It's almost bean time. So I got splinters in my hand. I'm cutting it. It's almost bean time.
Lunch, yes.
Scott always reads it.
Well, it's 11:30. It's 12 almost.
Camera is
No, it's not. Oh, God.
don't be talking. I did that kind of like move where like I'm shutting it off and just kind of.
We got that splinter dissected out.